Welcome to the deep dive. We are jumping straight into the source material you sent us, and the core tension here is immediate and maybe a little uncomfortable. It's this idea of the stalled engine.
Yeah.
The analysis suggests that most movements and missions don't actually fail due to a lack of vision or not enough funding or even a shortage of talent.
No.
They stall because the people driving them, well, they fundamentally misunderstand where their true power begins.
That is the uncomfortable paradox of the modern era, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, if you look at the landscape today, we are operating with unprecedented access. We have data on every people group, instant global connectivity, sophisticated training,
All the resources.
all of them. And yet, progress in so many critical areas is uneven or slow or, in some places, just completely stagnant.
And the sources point to this hidden factor, something they call the quiet devotion of prayer.
Mm.
It's not about what we, preach on a Sunday morning. It's about our functional theology, what we actually prioritize and practice during the week.
Exactly. When you audit the reality of how these movements are structured, prayer has sort of slipped into this supporting role.
Right.
It's often the opening ritual, the closing benediction or maybe the preparation we quickly squeeze in before the real work starts.
For the strategic planning, the fundraising, the execution.
Yeah, all of that.
It's treated like a spiritual safety checklist, right? We check the box for prayer, and then we get down to the business of human performance.
And then it becomes the last resort.
Pulled out only when strategies fail, like an emergency brake. And that unintentionally signals to everyone, to you, to your team, that human effort is primary, and God's action is just supplemental.
And when prayer is reduced to just preparation, it becomes optional under pressure. It's expendable when things get urgent.
We've accidentally relegated the most potent force in the universe to a supporting role.
We have.
So our mission today is to flip that assumption. We're going to unpack this disruptive truth from history and from Scripture. Prayer is not the warm-up to mission.
It's the engine itself.
It is the primary essential labor around which all strategies should be formed. So the question is, what would truly change if you treated intentional, focused prayer with the same rigor you treat your next strategic plan?
Okay, let's get into it.
Where do we start?
To start, we have to address a crucial theological reframing. And the sources guide us to this really powerful, even shocking image in Revelation 8. Theologians call it the golden censer reality.
That sounds dense. What exactly is the golden censer reality?
It's the idea that prayer isn't just symbolic background noise. It's a catalytic causal force. John sees a vision where the prayers of the saints are gathered and rise before God, mingled with incense in a golden censer.
Okay.
And this is the crucial part. The prayers are received first.
So it sounds less like a sweet smell and more like an input device.
Exactly. What's fascinating is the sequence of action that follows. The angel then fills the censer with fire from the altar, the divine power, and immediately hurls it to the earth.
And that action does what?
It initiates tangible, world-altering events, thunder, earthquakes, visible change.
Wait a minute. That sequence is a huge challenge to our functional theology.
It is.
It confronts the common assumption that heaven just responds to activity already happening on earth, that we plan, we act, and then maybe God steps in to bless the results.
Precisely. This imagery suggests that the prayers of God's people are gathered, received, and then translated into a divine response that actively alters history.
So prayer is one of the foundational mechanisms through which events are released. It's not just commentary on them.
You got it. It's not commentary, it's causal.
So if this is how it works, how does Scripture model this kind of governing intercession in action?
Well, we see these biblical precedents where human intercession clearly alters outcomes. Take Abraham in Genesis 18.
For Sodom?
Right, he's interceding for Sodom. But his exchange with God isn't some sentimental plea. It's portrayed as this intense moral reasoning, covenantal boldness, and judicial engagement.
So Abraham is basically negotiating the terms of justice with God. History is being dialogued on earth through prayer.
He's petitioning based on existing law, on God's own righteousness, pushing the envelope of mercy.
That makes judicial engagement make a lot more sense.
And we see it even more dramatically with Moses. After the golden calf incident in Exodus 32, God threatens to destroy Israel.
Right.
Judgment was imminent, but Scripture says plainly that the Lord relented. Moses' intercession was this profound act of leadership that literally altered the divine outcome.
So prayer, there isn't preparation for leadership.
No, it is the most essential act of leadership.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture of mission, look at Jesus' command in Matthew 9. He identifies the problem every mission leader faces. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
And the modern strategic instinct is what? Launch a recruitment drive, increase the marketing budget.
Of course.
But Jesus commands something entirely different. He commands prayer as the primary strategic response. He says, pray to the Lord of the harvest.
So he's positioning intercession as the means by which God himself sends the laborers out.
Yes. This reframes all mission strategy. It puts prayer at the very front end of the supply chain.
So that's the scriptural reality. Here's where the history lesson comes in. This pattern holds with an unsettling consistency. The sources note that mission surges have rarely, if ever, begun in boardrooms with complicated charts.
No, they're born in humble prayer rooms. The historical witness is undeniable. Let's look at the Moravian Prayer Watch, which began in Herrnhut in 1727.
Okay, that small, often persecuted community under Count Zinzendorf, what exactly happened there?
This small, vulnerable community began a prayer vigil. It was driven by this intense unity and a profound desire for spiritual awakening.
And they organized themselves into rotating shifts.
Yeah, not just clergy, but everyday people, youth, married couples. They maintained a unified, continuous, 24-hour-a-day prayer vigil.
And here's the astonishing fact that we need to just stop and absorb. That vigil continued, uninterrupted. Someone was praying every single moment for over 100 years.
A full century.
100 years.
A century of sustained vigilance. And this furnace of intercession, as it was called, became the power source.
And the result.
It birthed one of the most disproportionately influential global missionary movements in history. With minimal organization and, extremely limited financial resources, they reached the Caribbean, Greenland, the remotest parts of the world.
So prayer wasn't just a supplemental fuel.
It was the engine that manufactured the missionaries, the resources, and the vision itself.
I think we need to stop and acknowledge how difficult that is to comprehend in our modern attention economy. 100 years of scheduled, continuous prayer. It throws into sharp relief what we consider commitment today.
It forces us to ask, what would my current mission look like if I committed to that level of sustained, cooperative, focused intercession?
Yeah.
The early church gave us the blueprint for this. Before they preached, before they healed, before they organized churches, Acts 1 and 2 shows them waiting.
Waiting and sustained, unified prayer in the upper room.
They waited and they prayed. Pentecost, the event that launched the global church, was the culmination of their obedience to wait in intercession. It shows that divine power is a response to persistent intercession, not just a reaction to a perfectly crafted strategy.
And it's not always about longevity either. Sometimes it's about intimacy.
Yes, consider the power of intimate intercession. We also have the famous haystack prayer meeting in 1806. 5 students at Williams College are in a grove of trees, a thunderstorm breaks out, and they take shelter under a haystack.
5 students sheltering from a storm. That's the setting for a movement that shaped global history. The scale discrepancy is what's so fascinating.
Precisely. They started praying fervently for the world. They had no budget, no institutional backing, yet that intimate, faith-driven intercession catalyzed the birth of the modern Protestant missionary movement in America.
The vision was conceived right there, under a damp haystack.
In the intensity of their unified prayer.
So we have this mountain of evidence, historical and biblical, confirming prayer is causal. Yet we still struggle. We tend toward generalizations, Lord, bless the nations, Lord, help the missionaries.
And the sources argue those lose their catalytic force because they lack focus.
Right.
And that's the critical pivot point. Global mission today demands precision. Movements must be strategically covered, not just casually remembered. We have to move from generalized hope to targeted, informed strategy.
But I need to challenge you here. Strategy and planning give us measurable metrics. Number of staff, budget forecasts, reach. Prayer is unseen labor. How do we convince leaders that spending significant time on unseen intercession is more valuable than those quantifiable results?
That's where the challenge to our functional theology gets really practical. You audit the budget. If an organization spends, say, 98% of its resources, staff time, meetings, money on visible programming, and 2% on prayer coordination.
That ratio tells you everything.
It tells you exactly what they believe drives the outcomes. Human effort. Targeted intercession forces us to actually resource the unseen work properly.
And the sources introduce a practical framework for this, using the Unreached People Group, or UPG, prayer guide model.
This guide demands specificity. When we talk about UPGs, we mean communities with less than 2% Christian. They are the focus areas.
Okay.
This framework requires gathering intelligence, details on their identity, their language, their worldview, their spiritual history, specific obstacles they face.
So it transforms generic blessings into focused engagement. Instead of praying for Africa, you're praying for a specific language group facing a specific point of resistance.
Exactly. It ensures prayer is informed, intentional, and strategically aligned with what's happening on the ground. You're doing the hard strategic work of mission, but on your knees.
It's mission that starts with prayer, not after it. And to move from informed prayer to sustained breakthrough, there's the Watchman's Wall model.
Based on Isaiah 62, the command for watchmen to never keep silent day or night.
Okay.
And this isn't spiritual heroism, it's shared vigilance. It's coordinated, continuous 24/7 prayer coverage for a region, a mission, a specific people group.
And that requires structure to sustain it.
Absolutely. You need scheduling, global coordination across time zones, and leadership coordinators to ensure sustainability, just like the Moravians modeled.
So the ultimate actionable takeaway for you, the listener, is this required shift in leadership perception. We have to move away from seeing intercessors as just devotional staff,
They have to be recognized as strategic partners.
strategic partners.
Their labor is unseen, yes, but it directly shapes what becomes visible. Their focused work is engaging the specific spiritual resistance and the hardened systems that planning and marketing alone simply cannot touch.
So prayer has to move from a last resort to the first and central commitment.
A fundamental reorientation of how we understand causality.
So what does this all mean for you and the areas you are focusing on? The final synthesis is clear. Prayer is the primary labor. It is the engine of movement.
Right.
Strategy then becomes less about human performance and more about divine discernment. Mission becomes participation in what God is already doing. It frees us from carrying burdens we were never meant to bear alone.
We need to audit our functional theology right now. Look at your own rhythm. When prayer is consistently postponed or abbreviated or treated as optional, it exposes that core limiting assumption.
The assumption that outcomes are primarily driven by your personal effort.
We have to recover prayer as focused power aligned with God's specific redemptive purposes.
And that brings us back to the enduring promise, the provocative thought we want to leave you with. Reconnect with that golden censer theology. Remember that image prayer rising before God, triggering the censer to be hurled to earth, initiating transformation.
God has deliberately chosen to tie certain transformative acts, judgments, mercy, mission breakthroughs, to human intercession.
So if heaven waits for earth to intercede before moving decisively,
Then the question is,
what opportunities for breakthrough in your area of curiosity, your organization, or your personal mission are currently waiting? Not beyond your capabilities, but waiting for you to step fully into the hidden labor of persistent, strategic intercession.